Part 23. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 221. Not surprisingly, Elsa became Rias's subordinate. The power of the monk is to assist the familiar demon, which has to be said to match Aisha's healing artifact very well. Although it seemed a bit random, Rias still used her demon chess pieces without thinking. In Yayu's view, reincarnating a demon is a very simple matter. You only need to use demon chess pieces. But in fact, this is not the case. Different camps have different attributes. For example, as a nun, Aisha wants to reincarnate into a demon. This kind of thing is completely random. However, this is not the first time Rias has messed up, and there will be no pressure if she does it again. In other words, it was the chaos that led to the birth of Yayu, a special dependent, which made Rias confident. Bright red magic enveloped Rias's body. In the name of Rias Gremory, give this order. You, Aisha Aljit. In order to become my servant, your soul returns to this place again and becomes a demon. You, become my monk, rejoice in your new life. For the first time, I observed the whole process of the devil's reincarnation as a bystander. I saw the chess pieces glowing bright red and sinking into Aisha's body. Soon everything calmed down again. After confirming that the chess piece had completely entered Elsa's body, Rias also stopped the operation of her magic power. Is this done? What do you think? In fact, the reincarnation of a devil is that simple. Rias said this with some pride, and then stared at Elsa with an expectant look on her face. What do you think? Try using your own power and see if you feel any discomfort. Kindness. Aisha tilted her head slightly, and then a soft light green light emitted from her palm, which was a sign that her expression was aroused. Well, it looks like your reincarnation was successful. Congratulations Aisha, you will be a demon from now on. Hey, have I become a devil? Aisha looked a little confused, and the girl lowered her head and looked at her palms. Lord, please forgive the sinful Elsa, but even if Elsa becomes a devil, her faith in you will still not change. Elsa clasped her hands together in a praying posture. But immediately awu, a cry of pain. Head hurts. Of course, a devil will get hurt if he prays to God. Rias said lightly. Woo, that's right. I'm already a devil and I don't have the face to face God. Aisha seemed to be in a very complicated mood, showing an expression of pity that made people unable to help but care. Do you regret it? Rias asked Elsa. Aisha shook her head gently. No, I want Sister Rias to be willing to take in me, a nun from the enemy camp. Aisha shook her head gently and said this with great emotion. Don't get me wrong, I took you in for Yayu's sake. But just as Aisha was thanking her like this, Rias seemed to be saying this ruthlessly. The girl proudly flipped her red hair, turned her head and walked out of the room. Don't forget, you are a nun and I am a devil. We were enemies from the beginning. Yayu has actually told me about your existence a long time ago, but my advice is not to contact you to avoid getting into trouble. But now it seems that at least your artifact is pretty good, and you have the qualifications to become my vassal. Anyway, work hard, I am a harsh master. Yes. I'll do my best. Elsa answered energetically. Yayu shook his head in amusement. It seemed that Rias' army of flyers was about to have one more person. Elsa would be surprised if she knew that the devil's job is actually to distribute leaflets, right? Aisha's transfer went much more smoothly than Yayu's. After all, the girl's documents were all in order, and the transfer was basically completed with just a few words and a formality. For the addition of new partners, the Supernatural Research Department once again held a small celebration party. At the banquet, Aisha was a little surprised why Yayu didn't show up, but she was fooled by Ria's few words. Naturally, Yayu couldn't show up because he was currently busy at the student union. Although it might be rude to say it directly, because Aisha reacts slowly and is stupid, it is easier to deceive, so for the time being, it seems that there is no need to worry about Yayu's dual identity being exposed. But, how long can I keep it secret? When school was over in the evening, Aisha finally met Yayu. After telling her about today's new life, Aisha smiled and waved goodbye to Yayu, and went to deliver flyers. It seems that Elsa doesn't have the slightest objection to the fact that the devil's job is to deliver flyers. Maybe this is a job that allows the girl to breathe a sigh of relief, right? Not long ago, Elsa might have been worried about whether she would do evil things as a devil. As for Elsa's residence, she is staying at Rias's house for the time being. After all, if she continues to live with Sana, sooner or later there is a possibility that her secret will be revealed. Yayu's pace suddenly slowed down. At some point, the pedestrians and noises around him gradually disappeared, and the surrounding area became quiet to a somewhat eerie level. Yayu was not unfamiliar with this situation. When the boy was killed by the fallen angel, he felt like this, as if he had entered another completely unfamiliar world. Boundary. In front of his eyes were jet black feathers flying all over the sky. Yayu slowly stretched out his hand to catch one. The angel with pure black wings had quietly arrived in front of him. It's interesting. He didn't look surprised at all when he saw this situation. He is indeed a human being with a divine weapon in his body. The eyes of the fallen angel who suddenly came looked up and down Yayu's body, and said this with some curiosity. No, you are no longer human, have you become someone's dependent? The female fallen angel frowned slightly. She seemed to be hesitating and wavering. No matter, your existence is too dangerous. When the time comes, you can just pass out without paying attention. The female fallen angel said this, as if she had made a decision. A cold spear of light appeared in her hand, pointing straight at Yayu below. I'm sorry, if you want to blame it, it's the artifact in your body. As the words fell, the spear of light stabbed down mercilessly. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, BasedonanAnime. Chapter 222. Yayu is not a very good-tempered guy, and his behavior has always been such that others respect him and he respects others. However, if someone showed hostility towards him, Yayu's counterattack would be more decisive and ruthless than anyone else's. After seeing the fallen angel girl in front of her so self-consciously announcing Yayu's death sentence, she threw the spear of light into Yayu's heart. In her opinion, this human who had just been reincarnated into a demon could never be her opponent. In addition, the power she used was of light attribute, which was like poison to the demon. So the outcome has been decided from the beginning, and she has been waiting to see the demon in front of her wailing under her javelin of light. But what makes the fallen angel unbelievable is that the light, which is like poison through the intestines to the devil, is actually held in Yayu's hand. This mere human in front of her, whom she didn't care about, could easily hold the javelin of light she threw. How is it possible? You are just an ordinary human who has just been reincarnated into a demon. Ah, is this the power of a fallen angel? It's nothing more than that. Looking at the frightened fallen angel in the sky, Yayu slightly grinned with a twisted smile. He has been suppressing it for too long. The sin and desire that he has suppressed in his heart since the beginning of the little garden world has almost driven him into madness. What Yayu needs now is a hearty sex or a bloody and cruel killing. Only in this way can he let out some of the uncontrolled sin accumulated in his heart. Instinctively aware of something bad or a sense of danger, the fallen angel seemed to want to escape from here, but at this moment, an indescribable terrifying force pressed down from the sky. Woo! The girl let out a mournful cry, and her body fell to the ground as if being suppressed by a big invisible hand. What did you do to me? The fallen angel looked puzzled. In her opinion, it was impossible for the man in front of her to do such a thing. So where did this terrible power come from? Well, it doesn't look difficult. With a twisted smile on his face, Yayu walked to the girl step by step. What the other party was feeling at this moment was what Yayu had also felt in Byakusha and Nasha Nasha. A truly strong man doesn't need to use his hands, he can kill people just by relying on his momentum and eyes. Although the current Yayu is not that exaggerated, it is still too easy to suppress this fallen angel with his momentum. Because this fallen angel is really too weak. You guy, are just a human being for some reason. Seeing Yayu walking over step by step like this, an inexplicable feeling of fear enveloped the fallen angel's body. Do you feel fear? Yayu raised his eyebrows and gently stood in front of the fallen angel. Don't be too arrogant, you're just a human. The beautiful face turned ferocious in an instant, and a red javelin of light emerged from his hand. I can easily kill an ant like you. The distance between the two people was extremely close. Just by standing up, the tip of the javelin had already reached Yayu's chest. Got it? The joyful emotion on the beautiful face that turned ferocious didn't last for a moment before it disappeared, because the javelin in his hand stopped and was in front of the opponent's clothes. Do you think I'm the kind of thing you killed that day? He smiled disdainfully, grabbed the other person's neck with one hand and lifted his entire body up. No. Don't kill me. He couldn't understand why a human who had just been reincarnated into a demon had such terrifying power. The fallen angel woman's thoughts were a little confused, and the approaching death made her involuntarily beg Yayu for mercy. A sharp sound broke through the air, and a dark shadow tore through the sky, shooting towards Yayu's body rapidly. The biting frost passed over Yayu's head, freezing all the dark shadows. It could be seen that they were all dark feathers. Looks like a new fallen angel has arrived. His eyes moved, and sure enough, 3 fallen angels had landed on the opposite side. Let go of Lady Linley, a scantily clad female fallen angel cooed and took a step forward. Be careful, this guy seems to be the holder of an artifact. 4. Just take care of them all. These fallen angels would find him today, and they would find Aisha sooner or later, so in order to protect the safety of the confused little nun, Yayu had no intention of leaving anyone alive. Anyway, fallen angels and demons are mortal enemies, right? Lifting Linley up with one hand, the unknown frost spread quietly in the other hand, and then a cold pitch-black giant sword slowly emerged. It's an artifact. Is he actually a reincarnated demon who can summon artifacts? Danger, awe. As soon as those careful words were spoken, a shrill scream rang out from the mouth of the fallen angel. Save me! Save me! The fallen angel, surrounded by the calamity's frost and cruelly frozen bit by bit from the solace of his feet, screamed in terror. As for her 2 companions, let alone saving them, they didn't even dare to get close. The only thing they could do was to look directly at their companions with pale faces and slowly turned into an ice sculpture. What kind of artifact is this, and why do I feel a trembling feeling from my soul when I look directly at the frost? Walk. The only male fallen angel looked at the frightened female fallen angel next to him, then spread his wings and stood up from the ground. After realizing the difference in strength, he had no intention of fighting at all. Transic, you bastard! Seeing her companion leaving her and running away like this, Linley, who was overwhelmed with anger, roared angrily. Hug, I'm sorry, Lady Linley. Another female fallen angel turned around and planned to escape after saying a few words. Mightaloo, even you. Before Linley could finish her words, Yayu violently threw her aside. Her beautiful body rolled like a broken sack, and then she was hit hard. Next to the fountain pool. It seems that you fallen angels are not so united. Yayu stared at Linley with a somewhat sarcastic smile as he watched the 2 fallen angels escape. Don't be too proud. After the 2 of them escape, they will definitely report it to the superior fallen angel cotters. For a human like you who has mastered a powerful artifact, our fallen angel cotters will never sit back and watch you grow up. You are definitely their priority. Kill the target. Knowing that she had no chance to escape, Linali simply threatened Yayula with a ferocious face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 223. In response to Linali's threat, Yayu showed a lack of interest and spoke lazily. Ah, it's really troublesome, so. Seemingly agreeing with Linali's words, Yayu nodded gently. Immediately, frost gathered in his palms and turned into two palm-sized ice picks. It's better to shut them up. Just when Linali was wondering what Yayu wanted to do, the two ice picks in his hand were fired straight out. At an extremely terrifying speed, they instantly caught up with the two fleeing fallen angels and pierced them with incomparable precision. Their heart. The two fallen angels in the sky who originally thought they had escaped had their hearts pierced by ice picks before they could realize what had happened. With expressions of disbelief on their faces, they couldn't even scream. The two fallen angels who were pierced by the ice picks instantly turned into cold statues, and then fell from the sky. How could it be that this force is really just a newly reincarnated human being? Such terrifying strength is probably comparable to that of an intermediate level, not even a high-level demon, right? If converted into a fallen angel, it would be at least 6 wings. Are you kidding? I am just a fallen angel with 2 wings. Why would I encounter such a terrifying enemy? With a look of confusion, and fear on her face, Linali wanted to escape from here, but sadly found that she could no longer move. In the face of absolute strength, Linali found herself so fragile and insignificant. Spare me, please spare me. I wanted to attack you because of my obsession. As long as you spare me, I will do anything. Looking at Yayu walking over step by step, the fallen angel Linali put on a very well-behaved and pleasant appearance, but Yayu didn't notice it at all, and slowly raised the cold sword in his hand, pointing at Linali. However, it is a pity that Yayu's eyes have not changed at all from the beginning to the end. They are cold and ruthless eyes, as if looking at grass and grass. Don't, you can't kill me, I am. It can be regarded as revenge for you. Thinking of the young man who died because of his own reasons, Frostmourne stabbed him mercilessly, and the sound of frost spreading was accompanied by the flying black feathers. The body of the dead fallen angel directly turned into light and disappeared, which saved Yayu time in dealing with the body. The only traces of their existence are the water stains on the ground. After dealing with these fallen angels, Yayu also breathed a sigh of relief. There should be no need to worry about Aisha's safety for the time being. According to Rias, the fallen angels operate in teams, and each team is responsible for an area. Logically speaking, this area should be the place that this team is responsible for, right? Although this team has been completely wiped out by Yayu, it will probably be a long time before other fallen angels get the news and come over. By then, Aisha should have the ability to protect herself, right? Ria said that Aisha is a very talented demon. Once she quickly uses the power of her artifact, she becomes almost immortal. Although this statement may be a bit exaggerated, it also confirms the power of Aisha's artifact. Yayu did not tell Rias and Sana about destroying the fallen angels. In the eyes of the two girls, Yayu was still the soldier who had unlimited potential but was still very weak. Yayu also knows very well that being too high profile is not a good thing. His identity as a demon who emerged from the 11 demon chess pieces is already shocking to the world, let alone other things. If the higher UPS of angels and fallen angels knew that they had just been reincarnated and already had power comparable to that of higher level demons, and were in control of extremely powerful artifacts, they would definitely try their best to strangle themselves, as Linali said. Bar. The life of a double agent continued, and the secret was almost exposed several times, but the danger was saved. Both Yayu, Rias, and Sana began to feel more and more tired of concealing Yayu's identity. Just when Yayu thought that such dull but not annoying days would continue like this, the turning point came. One night, when Yayu was just about to take a rest, a bright red magic circle suddenly flashed on the floor. There is no doubt that it is the exclusive emblem of the Gremory family. For a moment, the room was filled with dazzling light, and a figure appeared from the magic square. It's a female figure with red hair. Rias? Why are you here so late? Yayu looked at Rias coming out of the magic circle with some surprise. In fact, Yayu was no longer surprised by the other party's frequent visits. But most of the time Rias would take off her clothes and sneak into bed when he was asleep, and then wake him up the next morning. Like this time, she came directly before he fell asleep, or did she? First time. Yayu, hold me. Ha. Yayu was slightly startled. Before he could react to Lias's words, the other party had already approached at a speed that was too fast for anyone to react, and was close to Yayu's arms. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 224. Yayu, don't you want me? Do you feel that we are progressing a little too fast? Yayu replied with some dumbfounding. He tried his best not to touch Rias's skin, but this didn't seem to mean much. I don't care. As long as it's raw and cooked, they won't have any objections. The only person around me who can do this with me is you. Yayu said some words that she couldn't quite understand. Rias's hands moved randomly and began to take off Yayu's clothes. Cool, calm down Rias, Sana will notice the movement at any time. If she comes, come here. It's a special situation now. Even if she comes, I will stay with you even in front of her. What are you going to do in front of me? With a trace of anger, Sana had just been mentioned, and the latter had already arrived in the room at some point. At this moment, he was standing by the bed and staring at Rias with an angry look on his face. In fact, Sana had already felt the other party's presence when Rias used the teleportation array, but she didn't really care. After all, she was used to Rias visiting from time to time, but this time it was slightly a bit, it was different, and this attracted Kang Na's attention. Then Sana, who walked to the room, heard the conversation between the two. What exactly do you want to do, Rias? Do you know the consequences of doing this? Sana frowned slightly. In her opinion, Rias shouldn't be such an ignorant person. In normal times, openness, skin-to-skin cuddling, and so on can be said to be nothing but fun, but in this situation, if Rias really plans to sacrifice her virginity, it will be a big deal. The sister of Lucifer, the leader of the 4 demon kings of hell, lost her virginity inexplicably in the human world. This was already a major event that could start a war. It's very complicated to explain. Sana, you just need to know that I have a reason to do this. It was obvious that Rias had no intention of paying attention to Sana's intention, and really planned to do that kind of thing with Yayu directly in front of the girl. Even if you say that, how could I watch you two do such a thing in front of me? Just when Kang Na was about to step forward to stop him, a scarlet light suddenly flashed on the floor of the room. It was the badge of the Gremory family that Yayu was familiar with. And who is using the Gremory family's magic square to teleport? It's still a step too late. Sure enough, it was a wrong choice to let Yayu live with you in the first place. If he lived with me, the trap would have been over. Rias muttered, looking at the magic square on the floor displeased. The light gradually dissipated, and what appeared from the magic square was a strange young woman with silver hair. She was dressed like a maid, or in other words, she was a maid. The beautiful silver-haired maid looked at the situation in the room and was slightly surprised by Sana's presence. Then her eyes fell on Rias. Are you willing to do this in order to prevent the matter from being negotiated? The maid spoke calmly in an unbearable tone. Upon hearing her words, The president raised an eyebrow in response. If I don't do this, how can my father and brother listen to my advice? If Master and Lord Surtsk knew, they would be very sad. Although you didn't know who the name of the silver-haired maid was, she still understood it. However, because Rias and Sana were both there, the woman in front of him seemed to be an acquaintance of them, so you endured it and did not have an attack. And after hearing what the maid said, Rias's expression became very ugly. My chastity belongs to me. What's wrong with dedicating it to someone I agree with? Gurfia, you is different from everyone else. He is an extremely great existence that has never been seen before or after. Rias was very angry. You, who was reincarnated using 11 demon chess pieces, was looked down upon by Gulafie. On the other side, the woman whom Rias called Gurfia didn't think much about it. She just thought that Rias simply wanted to protect you. She sighed as she picked up the top that Rias had thrown on the ground. No matter what, you are the next head of the Gremory family. Please don't bare your chest in front of men. What has happened so far, please don't cause any more disputes. Having said this, she put her shirt on Rias. Then she moved her gaze to Kang Na and spoke with some confusion. Why is the young lady from the seedy family here too? What's the relationship between the two of you? Gulafie's face looked very strange as she said this. Sana and Rias must be competitors, right? When did the relationship get so good? Ahem, cough, this is my home. Hey, is this like this? I'm rude, but if this is Miss Seedy's residence, then who is this man? At first, she thought the other person was a dependent of Rias, but now it seemed that he was not. If he was a dependent of Rias, why would he live in Sana's house? This is a bit complicated to explain, how should I put it? Sana looked a little embarrassed and looked at Rias on the side, who nodded slightly. As for Gurfia, it's okay to tell her. After all, it's impossible to hide this kind of thing for a lifetime. Rias said this, Sana nodded slightly, but Gurfia was a little curious, what kind of tricks are these two girls really playing? Just as you thought, Gurfia, you is my dependent. Then if he is your relative, why does he live in Miss Seedy's home? This is what I need to explain, because you is also a dependent of Kang Na. Rias said this, Sana on the side nodded slightly, and Gurfia showed an expression of incomprehension. How could a reincarnated demon have two masters? This is impossible. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Shang. Chapter 225. How could a reincarnated demon have two masters? This is impossible. As Gurfia said this, she looked at Rias and then at Sana. She suddenly thought of something bad. Could it be that Miss City and Miss Rias both fell in love with this man, so they forced him to become their personal dependent? It's not a reincarnated devil, it's just a private master-servant relationship. And then, the two of them were actually playing together just now, as usual, but ended up being broken up by themselves. Gurfia, what on earth are you thinking about? Why are your faces so red? Rias said in a funny tone, and the silver-haired maid suddenly woke up. I'm really sorry, but please explain to the lady what this dependent relationship that you two share is all about. Nice to meet you. I serve the Gremory family, my name is Grafia. Please give me your advice in the future. While raising questions to Rias, Gurfia also greeted you politely. Although it was a bit uncomfortable to be directly called a mean person by the other party at first, it was obvious that she was also worried and concerned about Rias, so you forgave her. Humph, don't be too surprised, Gurfia, what kind of chess piece do you think you is, the reincarnated demon? I didn't notice anything special, so it seems like they must be soldiers, right? Did they use multiple chess pieces? At first, Rias said that you was a great person, and Gurfia immediately thought of this. If reincarnated using multiple soldier pieces, it would indeed be a dependent with outstanding potential. But the dependents are just dependents after all, just servants. Compared with that big shot, they are still far different. Of course, if it was a reincarnated demon that was reincarnated using 8 soldier chess pieces, its existence value might make the family change its mind. But even so, he is still a soldier now. I don't know how long it will take until the day he grows up to be strong enough to stand alone or bring enough benefits to the family. Yes, then guess how many chess pieces you used to reincarnate. With all due respect, Miss Rias, if he is really a reincarnated demon who used 8 soldier chess pieces to reincarnate, he may indeed be called a great person, but compared with the young master of the Phoenix family, there is still a huge gap. Maybe his future is limitless, but now compared with the Felix family, one of the 72 pillars of demons, it is really not worth mentioning. Gurfia said so logically, as if she hoped that Rias would not put her hope in the illusory future. Having potential is a good thing, but there are too many demons with potential throughout the ages. But there are really only a few who truly grow up to become powerful men. Even a great man reincarnated as 8 soldier chess pieces is still just a soldier. Humph, Gurfia, I can only say that you underestimate Yayu. I already said that Yayu is a dependent shared by Kang Na and I, so how can it be possible to only use 8 chess pieces? Just 8. Miss Rias, do you know what you are talking about? Everyone can only have 8 soldier chess pieces, and different chess pieces cannot be used superimposed. Even your brother's path to the 4 demon kings of hell Western France cannot change this rule. Gurfia frowned and said this. Immediately, the girl seemed to have thought of something. She looked at Rias and then at Sana, showing an extremely horrified expression. Humph, have you finally thought of it? Yes, Yayu is indeed a reincarnated demon who completely used soldier chess pieces to reincarnate. But he used not only my chess pieces, but also 3 chess pieces belonging to Kana, so Yayu he is a soldier who was reincarnated using 11 demon chess pieces. Ria said so proudly, it was obvious that Gulafaya could not accept this fact. She stared at Yayu and kept mumbling the word impossible to herself. How is it possible, such a thing? Such a thing does not conflict with the rules of the devil's chess pieces, does it? After all, Lord Beelzebub did not expect that there would be someone who could accept so many chess pieces. When Ria said this, Gurfia fell into silence. She stared at Yayu for a long time, and then slowly spoke. If you, Miss Rias, are not lying, then Mr. Yayu can indeed be called a great man, and he is a great man that even the young master of the Felix family cannot compare to. Gulafaya said so categorically, and her name for Yayu also changed, adding the word Mr. Humph, it's good to know. Just let that roast chicken go back wherever it came from. Ria said so disdainfully, the girl laughed again and hugged Yayu's neck from behind. Yayu, let's continue what we just didn't finish. Ahem, Miss Rias, even if you really like your spouse, premarital sex is not good. And Mr. Yayu seems to be very distressed. Okay, I know, it's just a joke. Rias curled her lips and said this, then immediately grabbed the clothes she had just taken off and put them on, covering her beautiful naked body. Gurfia, did you come here on your own initiative? Or on the initiative of the entire family? Or, on your brother's initiative? Rias narrowed her eyes and pouted. This reaction is very similar to that of girls of the same age, and it feels quite fresh. All of them. Miss Grafia immediately answered, and upon hearing her answer, Rias nodded slightly. That's it? It's no wonder that as my brother's queen, you came to the human world in person. If it weren't for Yayu, I might have given up. Yes, Mr. Yayu is indeed a chess piece that can change the family's mind, but... As Gurfia said this, she looked at Sana who was standing aside. The reincarnation of 11 demon chess pieces must be kept strictly confidential even in hell, so the only way to tell the outside world is that he is a soldier of the eldest lady of the Gremory family. It seemed that he was apologizing to Sana, because if he wanted to rely on Yayu's existence to change the Gremory family's decision, then the fact that Yayu was Rias's dependent would have to be spread throughout hell. In this case, Sana would have nothing to do with her, so Graphia would apologize to Sana. My words don't matter. After all, arranged marriages are what I hate the most. Through the conversation between the two of them, they would know the reason why Rias did this. Sana smiled slightly and answered in a very free and generous manner. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 226. I said, do you want to explain to me what the situation is? After all, I seem to be the main person in the matter. Seeing the three girls talking so self-consciously in front of him, Yayu touched the tip of his nose and asked in a funny way. Then let me explain. Bowing slightly towards Yayu, showing a perfect and elegant maid posture, Gulafaya slowly spoke. As relatives of Rias and Sana-san, I think you know their identities very well, right? Miss Rias is the first heir of the Gremory family, and Sana-san is the successor of the city family. The first heir. Not only that, Miss Rias's brother and Miss Sana's sister are also Lucifer and Leviathan among the 4 demon kings of hell. It can be said that the identities of the two ladies are called, it's not an exaggeration, to be the princess of hell. When Gulafaya said this, Yayu nodded in understanding. And the reason why Miss Rias did such an impulsive thing this time is because the young master of the Felix family came to propose marriage. If you propose marriage, since Rias is unwilling, why not refuse? The family of Demon King Lucifer doesn't even have this courage, right? Yayu was a little puzzled and curious. Why did such a rejection with just one sentence cause such trouble? If Lord Lucifer rejects this marriage, the Felix family wouldn't dare complain, right? That's what I said, but the head of the Felix family and the master have been friends for many years, because of the relationship between Face, and the third son of the Felix family is also a demon with great potential. He is one of the ranking games in the underworld. Ranking among the best, he is not the kind of incompetent person who is completely unworthy of Miss Rias. Gurfia said so sincerely, but Rias didn't seem to buy it at all. If you don't like it, you don't like it? I don't care if he is good or not. There are many good devils in hell. Is it possible that I will marry anyone who comes to propose marriage? And the third son of the Felix family is obviously a wanted person. He's such a lecherous person, just look at what he and his family members do. Ahem, cough, cough. There is indeed a bit of a problem with the behavior of the third son of Felix's family, but I think he will become more restrained after marriage, right? I don't care, I don't care. Anyway, I don't like him. If I want to marry him, let my brother and father marry him. Are you going to sacrifice your daughter and sister's lifelong happiness for the sake of so-called Face? Is this the case with the Gremory family and Lord Lucifer? Yayu suddenly spoke softly, directly inserting himself into the conversation between Gurfia and Rias. In response to Yayu's words, Gurfia raised her eyebrows slightly, seeming to be angry at him for slandering the Gremory family and Lord Lucifer. Please take back what you just said. What about the Gremory family and Lord Lucifer? It's not your turn to comment. Why, are you angry because I touched on a sore point? I don't think there is anything wrong with what I said. No matter what I said about the Gremory family or what Lord Lucifer did, I only saw 2 bad things. Just one word. As one of the 4 demon kings, Lucifer can't even protect his own sister, so don't make people laugh. Yayu. Rias was touched and worried as she shook Yayu's body. She knew that the other person said this for her own sake. The brother she had always loved and admired would make such a choice. Rias was also secretly sad for a long time. But as a mate of the Gremory family, Gurfia, who has served the Demon King Lucifer for generations, will definitely not let Yayu slander her brother like this. Sure enough, Gulafie, who still maintained an indifferent attitude, took action without warning. Just when Rias was about to stop in front of Yayu to protect him, Yayu directly pushed her away. "Why, you can't defeat me, so you started to take action. This is not the style of a perfect maid, Miss Graphia." The cold breath slowly echoed around the room along with Yayu's somewhat frivolous words. Gurfia, who was holding a silver-white short blade, was slightly surprised. She didn't want to kill the other party. At best, she just wanted to teach him a lesson and let him know that some things should not be said casually. But she never expected that her attack would be stopped by the other party. I don't know when a two-handed giant sword that was completely black and had unknown runes engraved on the sword appeared in Yayu's hands. This large and somewhat exaggerated two-handed sword was held by Yayu with one hand, and he resisted Gurfia's short blade in a posture that was definitely not in line with the human body. "Interesting, is this your artifact?" Looking at the weapon in Yayu's hand, Gurfia showed interest. Potential is potential and can never be linked to strength. No matter how much potential Yayu has, it is not as convincing as his current strength. For the Gremory family and the Demon King Lucifer, things like potential may make them care, but it cannot really impress them. But if it is a strength that cannot be ignored, then the results will be much different. A newcomer with unlimited potential, or even a potential that is so huge that it makes people fearful and terrifying, and at the same time, this newcomer also has a powerful strength that cannot be ignored, then, in this way, the weight of this bargaining chip is quite heavy. "That's right, my artifact, Frostmourne," made Miss Graphia laugh. Yayu said this with a faint smile. His attitude seemed a bit strange to both Rias and Sana. Is this really the Yayu who seems dull and silent all day long and is at the mercy of the two of them? No, not really. It's a very powerful artifact, and its posture makes people awe and fear it. I'm afraid it's not inferior to the legendary god-destroying tool. Feeling the overwhelming power of destruction coming from Frostmourne, Gurfia said in admiration. Perhaps she still despised Yayu when Ria said that Yayu used 11 chess pieces to reincarnate, but now, after experiencing the power of Yayu's artifact, her attitude towards him is completely the bottom line has changed. Maybe, he can really make the Gremory family change their minds and reject the Felix family's marriage proposal because of his personal existence, right? The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai. Chapter 227. Although she was surprised by Yayu's actions, Ria still felt a sense of pride in her heart for Gurfia's heartfelt praise of Yayu. His family members made the always aloof sister Gurfia have to lower her head. Sure enough, she has the best vision. In this case, there is no need to worry at all. "Miss Rias, if you want to get rid of this marriage, I have the safest way." "Oh, what is it?" Although she was a little curious that Gurfia would suddenly change her attitude to help her, Ria still asked with some anticipation. "It's very simple. Hold a rating game and use the outcome of the game to decide the marriage. If Miss Rias loses, she will marry her. But if Miss Rias wins, she can say that I will not marry. This is the perfect reason to give a man who is weaker than yourself a reason to refuse this marriage." When Gurfia said this, Rias's eyes suddenly lit up and she nodded excitedly. "Well, that's right, this method is good, just follow what you said, Sister Gulafie. Then, I will bring Miss Rias's opinion back to the Phoenix family." As Gurfia said this, she bowed slightly towards Rias and immediately returned to the underworld to inform the Phoenix family. "Well, the troublesome person has left. Do you want to continue what we just did?" Yayu, after watching Gurfia leave, Rias, who was sitting by the bed, slightly lifted the coat on her body and put it on her body. Her seductive body was exposed again, and she said with an ambiguous expression, "Please pay attention to Rias for a moment, this is my home." Kang Na on the side pushed up her glasses and said angrily, "Well, I was just joking. Then I'll see you tomorrow." With that said, Rias leaned down and kissed Yayu's forehead gently, and then left the room through the magic circle on the ground. Shaking his head in a funny way, Yayu raised his head and looked at Kang Na, who was still in his room. "Does Sister Kangna plan to stay here? In your dreams?" With such a coquettish word, Kang Na also turned around and left the room. Spreading his hands, he shook his head helplessly, and Yayu lay back on the bed alone and continued to sleep. In the underworld, in the castle of the Gremory family, Surtsk sat on the throne. Standing next to him was the head of the Phoenix family and his third son, Riser Phoenix. "Oh, it looks like Gurfia has returned," Surtsk said suddenly, and as he finished speaking, a scarlet magic circle flashed on the floor. "Lord Lucifer," Mr. Phoenix with a slight nod, Grafia walked out of the teleportation formation. "Miss Rias has been found," Grafia said. "Oh, how about it, what does my stubborn sister say?" Surtsk said with a smile. "Miss Rias agrees to the engagement." After Gurfia finished speaking, Surtsk was a little surprised, while Phoenix and his son showed happy expressions. "But," smiling slightly, Grafia continued, "Miss Rias wants to compete with Master Rysel in the raiding game in front of all the masters in the underworld. If Master Rysel wins, then Miss Rias will marry you on the spot, but if you fail, Master Rysel, then unfortunately Miss Rias will refuse this engagement, because she will not marry a man who is inferior to herself." "Oh, can I understand that this means that my fiancé can't wait to marry me?" After listening to Gulifia's words, Rysel smiled proudly. With all 15 dependents and being extremely active in the raiding game, he felt that he was sure to win. You must know that Rias's dependents were not full yet, and she had never participated in a single raiding game event. "Master Rysel, does this mean that the Phoenix family agrees to Miss Rias's conditions?" Grafia raised her eyebrows slightly. "That's right, just like what my fiancé said. If I can't even win against her, how can I have the dignity to marry her?" Rysel said confidently. "Very good, then it's decided. The raiding game will be held in 3 days. The venue will be in my castle. I will personally serve as the referee of this raiding game." Surtsk, who had been silent all the time, spoke. "It's an honor," the father and son of the Phoenix family said, and left here. "It seems that my dear sister is confident of winning. Has she received any powerful relatives in the human world?" As Phoenix and his son left, Surtsk looked at Grafia strangely. Gulifia, on the other hand, looked around cautiously and even set up a barrier. Just when Surtsk was wondering why she was so cautious at home, Grafia slowly spoke. "That's right, Miss Rias has indeed received a powerful kinsman. Her potential and strength are beyond description." Gurfia said this with a solemn expression, which surprised Surtsk slightly. "Oh, who exactly is he?" "It's a reincarnated demon that was reincarnated using a demon chess piece with 11 soldiers." Grafia answered so truthfully, and Surtsk, the great demon who is Lord Lucifer among the 4 demon kings of hell, widened his eyes in surprise. Are you kidding me? Where did Rias get the 11 soldier pieces?" This is also something that needs to be explained. That family member is not only the family member of Miss Rias, but also the family member of another important person. That important person is Lord Beelzebub's sister, Miss Sonacidi. Although the specific process I'm not sure, but it's true that Sana-san and Ria-san used 11 soldier pieces to reincarnate the human into a demon. Is this like this? Surtsk nodded slightly, and he understood why Gurfia was so cautious. 11 demon chess pieces, something that has never been done before or since. What kind of monster will be born from this? Even he, the Demon King, dare not say for sure. If the angels and fallen angels knew about such a terrifying existence, they would naturally want to get rid of it quickly. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 228. Yayu doesn't know what happened in the underworld, and what Surtsks, who is one of the 4 demon kings, Rias' brother, Lucifer, thinks of Yayu. In the early morning of the next day, he came to the Supernatural Research Department as usual to report that today he was a dependent of Rias. They were greeting each other as usual. Rias's face was very cute and she looked like she was remembering what happened last night. The atmosphere in the Supernatural Research Department looked very solemn. Rias's family members had all arrived, except for Aisha, who was still a little confused and didn't know what was going on, which diluted the solemn atmosphere a little. Although she has the powerful help of Yayu, Rias does not feel that she is sure to win. As the 3rd son of the Felix family, Riesel is naturally no idiot. In fact, the opponent has much more experience in raiding game than Rias, and has a total of 15 dependents. Of course, even if she loses, Rias firmly believes that the opponent will be disgraced and will not let him win so easily. If I really lose, the worst I can do is run away with Yayu, and my brother will definitely protect me after knowing Yayu's potential, right? There is no winning or losing in this battle. Winning is naturally the best. Even if she loses by accident, her brother Surtsks will definitely help her clean up the mess if Rias elopes and escapes from marriage. Thinking this with some pride, Rias looked around at her family members and friends, and couldn't help but smile with relief. That's it for the raiding game competition with the 3rd young master of the Phoenix family. I leave my happiness and future to you. Rias said, raising her head and giving a sweet smile to Yayu, who was sitting on the sofa. Don't worry, Minister, it's just a turkey. We will definitely win, right? Akeno said with a smile, looking at Yayu, who was sitting aside. Bet on the glory of the night, Kibayuto said with a serious look on his face. Kick them away. Mao Mao's words were still so concise and clear. Come on, come on. Elsa, who finally understood what happened now, said so timidly. Isa-chan, this is not okay. We are going to experience a real war next, but we can't be timid like this. Rias leaned forward and said pointedly. Love, Aisha will work hard. Aisha replied with energy. Very good, this victory must belong to us, are you right, Yayu-jun? Rias said, and finally moved her eyes to Yayu with a smile. That's natural, my lord minister, Yayu replied with a smile. Hey, Aisha, do you think the minister suddenly became enthusiastic about Yayu? Himejima Akeno on the side gently bumped Aisha with her arm and asked a little strangely. Hey, Sister Rias is very enthusiastic towards everyone. Elsa tilted her head and said strangely. Forget it, just pretend I didn't ask. Akeno shrugged helplessly. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Rias had been pulling Akeno and others to carry out various training and tactics, but she only put Yayu aside. Because when they actually cooperated, Rias found out awkwardly that Yayu's power was a little too domineering. Once the unknown power of frost unfolds, no one can get close to it, so there is no possibility of cooperating with Yayu to fight. And Rias is still worried about the fact that Yayu's power is ice, and the Felix family is a fire phoenix, so the power of ice is completely restrained. In response, Yayu just shook his head, chuckled and said something that shocked Rias for a long time. There is no such thing as ice and fire. There is no such thing as one being able to restrain the other. There is only one saying that one is more powerful. Because of Yayu's simple words, Rias, who was still a little worried, finally abandoned all her worries and began to concentrate on preparing for the battle. Soon the day came when the ranked game started. In the past few days, Zhongkang generously gave the ownership of Yayu directly to Rias for a week, which made Rias very grateful. And she also knows that this is not just magnanimity, because when the ranking game in the underworld starts, the entire underworld will know that Yayu is her Rias's dependent. Okay, Let's get ready to enter the underworld. It looks like the stage is ready and waiting for us. Ria said so energetically, the teleportation array flashing scarlet light in front of them. Scarlet light flickered under their feet. When Rias and the others came to their senses again, they found that they were already in the playground of Kyo Academy. Although the surroundings were very bright, there was something to see above the sky. There was no sun, but a strange brilliance. It's so amazing. It's exactly the same as Kyo Academy, Aisha marveled. This is a different space created using magic, so feel free to use your hands and feet. It doesn't matter how much damage it causes, Ria said with a smile. Allah, it's my first time to participate in a large-scale game like raiding game. I must have a good time. There was a crackling sound of thunder and lightning on the body, and Akenohime Jima on the side was already stroking her cheek and making a strange sound in her mouth because of excitement. Kibayuto silently took out his wooden sword, and Konako slowly put on the ferocious-looking spiked gloves on his hands. Hello, my lovely fiancé, I really didn't expect you to take such a willful way to entertain us at our wedding banquet, but I don't hate it. The same brilliance flashed opposite Rias and others, and a handsome man wearing a red aristocratic suit with elegant demeanor appeared immediately. Wedding banquet, I think you made a mistake, Rysel, this will be a raiding game that will discredit you and the Phoenix family. Ria said coldly. Then, today, under the witness of all the adults in the underworld, let's present a gorgeous battle. The 3 sons of the Phoenix family, a pure-blood high-level demon family, Riser Phoenix, and 15 family members will participate. After Rysel finished speaking, the flames rotated with the gorgeous beam of light, and immediately 15 stunning girls appeared behind him. Similarly, in the name of Rias Gremory, here are the 5 members of your family. Rias shouted with an energy not inferior to Rysel's. In the underworld, in the castle of Demon King Lucifer, a luxurious banquet was being held. All this was the intention of the head of the Phoenix family. After all, Rias had said that if she lost, she would prepare a wedding banquet on the spot. Regarding the actions of the head of the Phoenix family, Surtsk did not stop him and allowed him to prepare. At this moment, the Phoenix family members were chatting and laughing with the various demons who came to the banquet. After all, it seems to them that Rysel will never lose. Just like Rysel said, this game is an entertainment performance before the wedding banquet of the 2 families. And in the middle of the banquet, like a 3-dimensional TV, the situation in the battle space was broadcast. No one was optimistic about the eldest lady of the Gremory family. After all, whether it was based on experience or the opinions of both parties, in terms of numbers, the gap is really too big. Why is the little girl from the Gremory family so crazy this time? Does she really think she can defeat that roast chicken? In the corner of the banquet, 2 girls in costumes were holding wine glasses and looking at the screen above. The mature and charming woman among them said this. Although the girl's voice was not loud, the word roast chicken was still heard by the surrounding demons. However, instead of being angry because the girl insulted the young master of the Phoenix family, those demons ran away as if they had seen the god of plague. Opened. The reason is that the girl is one of the demon kings of the underworld, Seraphal City, who holds the position of Leviathan. Well, sister, you will know after reading it. It will definitely surprise you. Sana on the side said with a smile, and the girl stared at the screen above with a proud face. Standing there fighting were not only Rias's retinue, but also her own retinue. Although his identity cannot be revealed, this does not prevent Sana from being proud of the shining performance of his family on that grand stage. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 229. In addition to the Demon King Leviathan and Lucifer, The third most feared person in the entire hall was Gurfia, who stood silently at the long table dressed as a maid. Although Gulafia is dressed as a maid and demands herself as a maid, anyone who sees her is respectful and doesn't even dare to say anything. Because besides the maid, her other identity is the wife of the demon king Lucifer. However, because the family's duty is to serve the demon king Lucifer for generations, she has always dressed as a maid. Regardless of this level of identity, the silver-haired maid's strength alone is no less than that of any demon. The title of the strongest queen among all the followers in the underworld, the silver-haired queen of annihilation, is not earned casually. Seeing that the time was almost up, Gurfia stepped on the transmitted red light and arrived at the school's broadcasting station in the combat field. Everyone, I am the judge and commentator for this time's rating game between the Gremory family and the Phoenix family. I am the servant of the Gremory family, Grafia. Through the school's radio, Gulafia's voice not only rang throughout the battlefield, but also in the hall. In the name of my lord, the demon king Lucifer, I wish to witness the battle between the two families. Please control your strength, value peace, and try not to cause casualties. As Gurfia finished speaking, the brilliance of the teleportation returned. It flashed at the feet of Rias, Rysel, and others. Regarding the two camps, the location after the transfer is their respective main formation. Miss Rias's main formation is the Department of the Supernatural Research Department located in the old school building. Master Rysel's main formation is located in the new school building. Student Council Room. If you, the soldiers, want to use promote, please rush to the vicinity of your opponent's main formation. Gurfia continued to speak slowly about the rules of the rating game. Then, the explanation stage is over, I declare that the rating game has officially started. After saying this, Gurfia's voice disappeared. Okay then, as we said at the beginning, the king will fight against the king, against the general. Akeno, you go deal with the opponent's queen. Aisha, you and I will defeat Riser directly. As for Kiba, there is Konako. Although I know it is very difficult, but the remaining 14 people are left to you two. Rias looked solemn. Don't worry, Buko. Kiba raised the wooden sword in his hand and said confidently. The little cat made a fist-pumping gesture to show his determination. As for Yayu, the defense of this formation is left to you, because if 3 of the opponent's chess pieces invade this formation, it will also be regarded as a game failure. When Ria said this, Yayu nodded slightly. In fact, this was what they had discussed a long time ago. As the trump card, Yayu was naturally the last one to appear. Good luck, Ria said, picking up Elsa, spreading her wings and flying out. Hajime Akeno smiled slightly and ran to the battlefield in the same way. Yayu-san, please guard the headquarters. After bowing lightly to Yayu, Kiba and Konako opened the door and left the club. Because of the advantage in numbers and absolute confidence in himself, Rysel did not take any plan at all and directly let his sister and the other 13 family members attack Laya. Silk's main formation. Facing Tachin, Konako and Kiba, it was such an arduous task to stop 14 people with the power of 2 people. There are only 2 roads to the club room, one is the playground, and the other is the back door of the gymnasium. There is no choice at all. Kiba and Konako must guard one side of the road alone. Like a lone hero. Thinking this, Kiba lips showed an excited smile. Familiars of Rysel, let's fight heartily on the name of Gremory's Knights. A rapidly moving figure flashed before her eyes. Just as Rias had guessed, Rysel should have chosen to let his knights lead the soldiers to charge from the shortest route to the playground, directly to the main formation. Knight versus knight, it really makes people a little impatient. Thinking of this, Kiba speeds up his progress. Lord Karame, Lord Ceres. An enemy personnel has been found. One of the 2 soldiers dressed as maids, led by the 2 knights, quickly rushed forward and shouted. Destroy it quickly. As long as more than 3 soldiers enter the formation, "The game is over." The woman with bandages wrapped around her body and a big sword on her back said. "I'm sorry, this road is blocked." At the same time, Kibayuto's voice rang. "So fast? When?" The two knights were surprised, but they found that the enemy they had been planning to defeat quickly had already arrived in front of them. Kibayuto's eyes widened suddenly, and as he ran, two silver rays of light flickered around his hands. "No! Defend quickly!" another female knight shouted and tried to draw her sword, but it was already too late. The silver light was fully formed, and they were two long swords, standing on the left and right of Kibayuto, charging with him. The left and right hands intertwined to capture the two long swords in their hands, and they shuttled between the giant swords set up by the two female knights like butterflies flying through flowers. Silver light swirled in the air, and Kibayuto suddenly fell to the ground. Two long swords were inserted into the ground and dragged out long traces. "Lord Karamax! Lord Ceres! Are you okay?" Behind them, two soldiers dressed as maids looked at Kibayuto in surprise as he fell over. They quickly stepped forward to help the two knights, Karamax and Ceres. The two women kept the movement of drawing the sword, but their bodies stood there strangely still, unable to move. Master Rizal Phoenix's two knights exit at this moment. Gurfia's cold voice came to mind in the sky. "What, Rizal," who was leisurely chatting with his sister Rebel in the main formation, stood up in great surprise. Rebel, who didn't take this game seriously at all, also had a look of surprise on her face. How long had it been since her brother's knights set off? Not even 2 minutes. Did the other party directly send the king or queen to take action? Rebel said strangely. No, the other party's queen has already been in contact with Yubelina. As for the king, Ria's status will not do such a thing. If I guessed correctly, she should come to me directly. Yes, just after Rizal finished speaking, he thought of Rias's voice outside the room. Riser, king to king, general to general, I, the king, have come to see you personally. Ribel, you go and take a look at their situation. I'm going to fight Rias, Rizal said with a serious face. It seemed that it was a little difficult to win this game leisurely. I understand, brother. Rebel nodded and left the formation. At the same time, the entire hall fell into dead silence in an instant. The demons who were holding wine glasses and chatting enthusiastically looked at the picture above blankly. Those demons who were trying to flatter the Phoenix family. I was instantly embarrassed and didn't know what to say. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 230. It looks like, this is going to be a tough battle. Sertsk narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling pleased with the strength of his sister's family. I originally thought that Rias just pinned her fate on the demon reincarnated from the 11 demon chess pieces, but in fact this was not the case. Although the number of dependents is small, there is no doubt that each of Rias's dependents is a powerful being that can stand alone. The two knights, defeat them. Kibayuto smiled and slowly stood up with his swords in hand. The mere act of turning around forced the two soldiers to take several steps back. What a good seedling! Rias has really gained a good family member. Gulafaya, who also had a panoramic view of Kibayuto's performance, praised. After admiring, Gurfia, who noticed the battlefield on the other side, turned on the speaker and announced coldly again. One of Master Rizal Phoenix's chariots and 3 soldiers exited the stage. Silence continued in the hall, and everyone was silent as they looked at the petite girl kneeling on the screen in the open space outside the ruined gymnasium. Although the final fatal blow was dealt by Thunder Queen Hime-Jima Akeno, the preparation time for such a large-scale attack was too long and the speed was slow. It was easy for someone to escape from the attack range, so we had to. It is said that the Tachin kitten did a perfect job of containing it. But soon, the exhausted kitten was attacked and retreated. The one who launched the attack was a figure floating in the air with wings spread out. It was a woman wearing a cloak who looked like a mage. The existence of the queen among the retinue of Rizal, Uberana, is the strongest chess piece. One of Miss Rias Gremory's chariots was destroyed. Giulafie's voice still contained no emotion, and because the Felix family had regained some face, the hall became commotion again. Ha ha ha. When hunting, the prey has the most loopholes at the moment it does something, so it is the easiest to succeed. There is a bit of a sacrifice here, but it is enough to hunt one of you. After all, your numbers are not enough in the first place. Just like this, it is already a big blow, right? Anyway, even if we defeat us, we will not be able to defeat Lord Rysel. All your efforts are in vain, Magister, the dressed-up Uberana said happily. Tch, you guy with lightning blasting all over his body, Akeno Jima said bitterly. Unexpectedly, when he was about to withdraw to attack, this guy also launched a sneak attack. Master Rysel Phoenix's 3 soldiers were defeated at the moment Akeno Jima was talking to Uberana. Gurfia's voice came out from the radio again. What a powerful knight, but I'm afraid his performance ends here, Uberana said with some surprise, and then she quickly wanted to rush to the playground. Don't think there will be a second time. Your opponent is me, Akeno Jima said coldly as the golden thunder brushed against Ubelana's forehead and flew past her body. It seems I have to deal with you first, Thunder Witch. Giving up her plan to break through and hunt the knight, Uberana waved her staff and pointed at Jima Akeno. The playground belongs to Kibayuto's battlefield. I admit that you are a strong knight, but that's the end of it, right? Stretching her flame-condensed wings, Rebel looked like a proud little princess and looked at the embarrassed Kibayuto below. The performance of the young man in front of her really surprised Rebel. He instantly killed 2 of his own knights at first, and then persisted in the encirclement and suppression of a chariot, a monk, and 5 soldiers. Now, 3 soldiers have been defeated. As expected of the red-haired princess of killing, she is a dependent of Rias-san. Surrender, knight, you don't have the strength to swing your sword anymore, the aloof rebel said, pointing at Kibayuto, who was holding a sword and covered in blood. Who knows, I feel like I can bring one of them with me. Scattered around Kibayuto were various long swords, and Kibayu stood among these long swords. Dopo has the feeling of a dying hero. Tch, tough-talking guy, Isabella sends him on his way. I understand, Miss Rebel. Not to take it lightly, not only Isabella, but also a remaining monk and 2 soldiers launched an attack. It's now. Kibayuto's eyes narrowed, and he suddenly raised the big sword in his hand and then stabbed it into the ground. Devil Sword. Create, with Kibayuto's body as the center, the flower belonging to the sword, bloomed. There was a roar, and the harsh sound of sword blades rubbing against each other resounded throughout the entire playground. At this moment, the entire playground turned into a sea of sword blades. Countless long swords pointed at the sky, destroying everything around them. The infinite sword system created by the magic sword. The final result of Kibayuto's training was a move to press his trump card. Unfortunately, the range was too small, so what he was waiting for was the moment when enemies swarmed up. It's so possible. Is this the power of the forbidden hand of the divine weapon? Rysel's servants made distressed sounds. Of course. Their bodies were pierced by the magic sword that emerged from the ground. In an instant, his body glowed brightly and he disappeared from here. Exit. 2 of Master Rysel Phoenix's soldiers, 1 chariot, and 1 monk are leaving in an instant, Gurfia's cold voice sounded. It's the limit, but if you can do this, at least you won't embarrass Ria-sama. Kibayuto, who smiled bitterly, felt his empty body and fell limply in the sword jungle he created. However, at this moment, a broadcast sounded that surprised him. Miss Rias Gremory's queen is out. One of Miss Rias Gremory's knights is out. Kibayuto, who was exhausted, also fainted on the ground and disappeared immediately. The magic sword that lost its master made a dreamy sound, and was broken and shattered one by one. The fragments of the magic sword were flying across the sports field while glowing silver. The gleaming light seemed to create a fantasy-like atmosphere, and within a few seconds all the magic swords disappeared from the playground. What a magnificent performance, Knight, you have gained the respect of the Phoenix family, but, it is a pity that the victory in this game still belongs to my brother. Listening to the two broadcasts that sounded in succession, Rebel showed a proud smile. Miss Rebel at the same time, Queen Ubelina, who belonged to Rysel, appeared next to Rebel intact. Did you use that? Rebel asked, raising an eyebrow. Although I am very reluctant to do so, I am really no match for the Thunder Witch when fighting alone, Ubelina said with a wry smile. In her hand was a delicate small bottle that had been empty. Tears of the Phoenix, an extremely powerful healing medicine, can heal any injury in an instant. It can be said that Akenoheim Jima did not lose unjustly. It's good if we win, then only Sister Rias will be left next, Rebel said with a smile. It was obvious that they had forgotten about a certain existence, the existence of a certain person who was staying in Gremory's main formation and was almost restless.